Hi everyone, Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. It's amazing to me where, you think people have things under control. You talk about certain situations, certain people make certain projections. Everybody thinks they know what is going to happen or what's going to go on, and then the markets respond. It's sort of like they say, you make a plan and the universe smacks you in the face with it, right? And that's what we tried to talk about a couple of weeks ago when, you know, I wrote a blog post and it was really culmination of people making prognostications. And I think it was just the end of the rope for me a few weeks ago when, the president was at a campaign rally and he was, whispering to the crowd that the Fed would be cutting interest rates soon. And, you know, it's just one of those things that when I spoke about it, I said, these things are better off just left unsaid, right? Let things play out and let the markets respond to that information. And then when we get to where we're going, you can tell people, right? But we are in a stage, I guess, between it being a presidential election year and just all the stuff that's on social media and people who spend their time trying to create content that not specifically delivers a message of value, but on how to generate people to click on it so that they can profit from it. And I think that's, a culmination of all the different things that I was, I guess disappointed in, to be honest with you. And we all know, you got to be careful. You can't fight the Fed. The markets are going to move based upon how they interpret information, not how anybody says things are going to go. And, lo and behold, you can't be predicting all of these things. And we've talked about this repeatedly about, people out there just, prognosticating how things are going to happen. And then when they don't happen, what are you going to do about it? What's the market response? And there are things that people talk about that, are their thoughts or their projections. Some of the people speak as if they know something that they don't. And some people speak from a position where maybe they should know something. And sometimes they just talk to hear themselves talk. And so the markets responded pretty strongly over the last couple of weeks. I mean, let's be honest, it didn't take um, a magnifying glass to see the reaction to the markets when the markets have made their mind up. And here are some of the things, the issues that have fully come front and center, at least in my opinion, to what the markets have responded to, pretty dramatically the last 10 days or so. The Fed didn't cut rates. Inflation isn't right now going lower. Most of the jobs that have been touted about being created, it turns out, were part-time jobs. The actual number of full-time workers in this country has actually gone down. Mortgage rates, guess what? They didn't get to 5% in March. Home prices continue to rise despite all the predictions of a housing bubble. This is what happens when the CPI and the PPI show the stress, and when the leadership comes out and tells you don't, and those that you're telling don't to do. That's the markets pay attention to these things. They also pay attention to, and what we should be paying attention to, is the fact that despite all the commentary, the NAR agreement has not been signed off on by a judge at this point in time. Well, some of the mortgage agencies have responded and made their voices heard about how they're going to deal with a seller paying the buyer's agent commission, not all agencies, not all programs have come to the forefront and explained how they're going to deal with that. So until those agencies or areas weigh in, there is nothing etched in stone, again, especially because the judge has not signed off on any of this. The other problem that we have, and I think the one that's most often overlooked, is we still got 50 states and the District of Columbia that have to approve disclosures, listing agreements, buyer agency, contract language. And do you really think, as we sit here now, that all of this is going to happen by July? Okay. So what does that leave us with? Well, it leaves us with going out there and listing houses for sale and showing people property to buy and approving people for mortgage loans or pre-approving them for the possibility of getting a mortgage loan on a property, and understanding that there are still people out there buying houses. They're doing it and they're getting approved for mortgage loans at interest rates that are still below historical averages. And I understand that people were thinking we were going to be at 5 and now we're at 6 or 7. And I get all that. But you know what? We saw this last year and people bought houses at 7 and 8%. Guess what? It didn't stop things. So until things are actually etched in stone, until we see what we're actually dealing with, until we have to cross that bridge, we have to get to that bridge. And then we have to know what that process looks like. And for now, we don't know any of that, other than the fact that it's in the process of being litigated. And once things are decided, and once we know what's happening and how things are going to go and be approved, and then the states and everybody gets all the proper paperwork, because you know how we're going to have proper paperwork. We got to work right now as business as usual at this particular point in time, making people aware of what's going on in the industry and realizing if you like the house, if you can qualify for the payment, if it's something that you can manage, if it's something that you like, then pull the trigger on your deal. If rates go higher, you're thrilled because you got in where you were. If rates go lower, you can refinance later. What's not going to change anytime soon is they're not building houses as fast as people want them. And with that type of pressure, if you find what you like and you can afford the payment, pull the trigger on your deal. And if things can get better down the road, you can always make them better down the road. And if things get worse in the market, you're secure in knowing that your deal is set. As always, questions or comments, it's Mike at imtcoaching.com. We'll speak to you again next week. Take care.